Okay.
Good morning. I didn't have my mic on before.
Okay, good morning. Yes, we're trying to be festive, even though it's
What are those
here.
baubles? Are those oh, they're jack-o'-lanterns, I see.
They are.
Cute.
I love your necklaces.
Oh, thank you. I dig them out. Oh, there's one thing I should start the day with. This will be fun. Here we go. I can't leave them on too long because they really bother your eyes.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
But anyway, and there's several settings. You can have blinking.
Very
have
great.
You can have less blinking. You can have still. So this is my my prop for today.
Excellent.
That's some fun. You know, you need fun. Oh, and these days you need more fun.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't that for sure?
I'm telling you. Anyway, so I hope everybody is ready for something new and challenging. I try to make them not too. Oh my goodness, John. He's got his horns on. Now there's fun for you. Welcome, I think. Boy. And I thought I was a little nutty. There we go. Let's see how we're doing. We have a few more minutes, right? So we'll just wait. Hi, Sandy.
Hi, Karen. I have something to show.
Oh, well, you know, that's the first thing I'm going to do. Oh, what is that?
This is it's a leather bound small watercolor book I got on Amazon, and it's like under 20, like 14 or something.
Oh, that's nice.
The only thing is it's hot press, but I'm thinking that it would be great for a travel book for if you want to do pen and ink, and then make like watercolor pencil, because it doesn't have the texture that we like with the cold press.
Yeah.
But it's really pretty. It comes in black and pink. So
lovely.
And it's, you know, like a pocket size, and it even has this, and the pages are bound. They're glued together.
Does it only come in pink?
Pink and black.
Pink and black.
Or black. Or
there
black.
You go, John.
I know. I didn't want to have too feminine, but you know, for October, it's still October.
Yeah. So. Very nice. Very nice. Look how you're all set up. Oh, this is great.
Karen, I have a question for you. Would that paper be appropriate for like flowers? And I mean, what do you, is there something in particular you paint on?
The real difference between hot and cold press? You know, I have used hot press, and what happens is the paint, instead of absorbing very quickly, it sort of sits on top a little bit. And I didn't have any problem with it. And I sort of like those pieces. It's a personal preference, whether you like it to be more, I don't want to say fuzzy, but it's not as sharp and clear. It's a little sharper and clearer on the hot press.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
You know, I have some, and I do use it. And I don't have a problem with it. And it is like really nice for drawing and watercolor pencils. As a matter of fact, watercolor pencils is kind of my last tool of introduction, I believe, because we've sort of gone through, and that I'm going to show you today, some things about pencils, because everybody likes to use them now and again. So that's good. So yeah, hot press is fine.
That'll be good. I've got a set of watercolor pencils. I don't know what to do.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. Perfect. Because I'm gonna show you, you know, besides just being able to draw with them, there's two methods to using them, and both of them are good, and along with watercolor if you take it along with you. But it's really good on the road. I've used it for a lot of my travel journals. Really nice. How's everybody? How are you, Lynn? Are you good?
Good.
Okay, just checking. Just checking. You have the most beautiful eyebrows. Look at those.
Oh, thanks.
You do. Since I'm so light-haired and like more to the blonde side, they never show up. And when I put them on with any kind of pencil, they don't look good. Oh. So I don't bother. Oh. So I appreciate really nice eyebrows.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Hi, Candy. I see her name. What's new on the baby outlook? Oops, you have to unmute yourself, hon.
They are in the hospital, so perhaps later today.
Oh my God. So
Yeah.
you're going to be going.
I'm down in Virginia now.
Oh, you're in for, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You must be beside yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to keep busy.
Okay, that's good. Oh, it's a very exciting day for you. Congratulations. And hope everything goes very well for mommy and baby. Oh, good. Good, good, good. Let's see. How's our timing? What do you think, Michelle?
You got 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Boy,
I
you're
would,
really
I
good.
would
with-
wait. Yeah, you got 2 minutes. I'm just checking emails to make sure that everybody that wants to be here is here. I have all my phones on, ready to go. That's what I do every morning before every class starts. I'm sitting like, waiting in the phone bank, waiting for people to call and say, "How do I get in?
Oh, boy.
Not
Okay.
working. Am I signed up?"
I
So
think you're also a key grip.
I am sort of.
Oh, you can see the setup here where he's got the iPad and the tripod and oh Lord. I had to have a new setup this morning. But that's okay. You know, you got to roll with the punches.
It kind of blends into the background, Karen. You don't really see it.
Oh, good.
I mean, the only thing I see is all the tape kind of holding it together.
Right. And then there's a clamp here.
Yeah.
And you know, oh my goodness.
It's very professional.
Oh Lord.
It works. So Karen, it's fine. It works.
Well, that's the thing. It has to work. It has to work. He came in and he said, Mom, what's the problem here? I go, well, here it is. Here it is. Here it is, dear. I hope everybody's been busy this week and I've gotten some of the paintings and oh boy, really, really good.
Really good.
Everybody's making an attempt. These are not that easy, but if they were all easy, then anybody could do them and there wouldn't be a whole lot to learn. So that's why I'm making them a little more challenging so that if you get a tiny bit from everything we're working on, that's great. That's what you need to do.
Karen, you could get started. Just tell me when you want me to switch, or if you want a double screen, or if you just want to go flip flop back and forth. Just tell me what you want.
Well, you know what? I'll start where we are now, and then I'm
Okay.
going to go to
Okay.
to the desk.
All right.
Let me say this morning. Is there welcome, good morning, and as dreary as it is, does anybody have work to share? That first thing of anything we've been working on?
Oh,
No?
I have the dish.
Who
Well,
said
I
that?
sent you mine, Karen. It's on one. It's a huge. What is it? 12 by 18 or whatever.
Oh,
I
the
put
double side by side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have that right next to me. So you've seen that.
Okay. Well, I meant that maybe the. Oh, I've actually tried to share. Oh, here we
Oh
go.
God, I got the wrong one.
I like that sweater close up.
Oh gee,
All right. What are you showing us,
I got
Carol?
that. Oh, forget it. I can't do it. I thought I could show it on the other iPad, but it doesn't work.
All right.
Technology,
Really?
isn't it a trip? Oh my goodness.
All right.
Lily, what do you got, Lily?
I have my special vase. Can you see?
Yes, we can.
Hold it up more. Hold it up. There you go.
Okay. Very nice.
The blue
It's a vase from China.
Oh boy, that is special. When
And
were you there?
it actually has designs carved into it, and I couldn't do that.
Mhm.
Birds and branches and stuff like that.
When were you there?
Oh, it was from my mother. It's been a long time since I've been there.
Oh
I
wow.
was born there,
What part of China?
southeast.
Is that near Shanghai?
Close, yes.
Okay, because I was there from Shanghai to Beijing, all along the river.
Oh,
Yeah,
aren't you lucky?
I was lucky. I really appreciate it now with, not being able to travel, but it was
Yeah.
an experience of a lifetime.
Was that a while ago?
Yes, in 2001.
Yeah, I don't think you can go there very well now.
Not very well.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
so that's my work for the week.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Oh.
No? Okay, well, let me get started with Michelle. You can spotlight me back.
Karen, I can't share because I have salt on mine, so.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what?
I can't pick it up.
We'll do it later then.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Everybody, this week, everybody was working on the leaves with the fabric background or the garden tools. So the ones that I got were very nice and lots of hard work put in there. I could see it in the strokes. Today, as a tool, introducing a tool or people that have watercolor pencils, I'd like to introduce ways of using them. This is the set that I travel around with. And it doesn't have, it has a decent amount of colors. And then I usually buy a few extra white and dark gray and gold. I buy, So, and this is 18, but you can get some that come in 12s. But this is a good brand. They seem like they work well with watercolor paint. So the name is CARAND''ACHE. But there's many other great brands. DeWitt, there's many good brands. Okay, what I'd like to demonstrate with watercolor pencil is, besides working directly with them and drawing with them and then working water over, Michelle, now we can go to the table. Okay, I'm just going to take anything that I think is going to show up good. You can first do something where you wet the paper just with water. Okay, and then you can take the watercolor pencil and actually work into it, and it has a soft kind of muted line. Let's see if I can get that better. Okay, a soft muted line. And then you can actually take the watercolor pencil and dip that in water, and there will be another feel. It gets, it gets a little stronger. It gets a little more precise with color. But you can see the difference where you're drawing into water, and here you're dipping the pencil into water. Let me just do something real quick here.
And on the water too?
Pardon?
And the second line is on water too?
No, the second line is on dry paper.
Okay.
So the first one is on wet paper. Let me do that again. I'll put some more water down. Then, there you go.
I don't think
Okay. So you can try that if you have a watercolor pencil handy. You can try putting down water and then drawing into it. And then the second way is on dry paper, actually putting your pencil into it. Now, say you're, this is an apple, in case we don't recognize it. Okay, and then, if there's a dark side, and then there's a medium, and then, of course, and those brushes they have now where you can, what do you call it? Fill them with water. I forgot the name that they actually have for them. But now this is on cold press, so you're getting that grain. But if you had it on hot press, it would be a nice smooth feel to it. Which that was a question about cold press or hot press. Okay, so as far as watercolor pencils go, I think it's a good addition. I mean, you can go back and you can, now that that's wet, I put water all over it. You might add a little more, build your color up on there. Try on the side a little bit. Go back in. go back in and add to it. Or you can start out by actually painting something. I'll do the same kind of thing right over here. You know, this is a same kind of a sphere apple thing. Of course, the light side, dark side didn't work that well. Okay, so now you're here. Now, what if you want to do something with your watercolor pencil? Well, you can, and you can do it more when it's dry, or you can do it when it's wet. But, you know, here, now I'm going to take the watercolor pencil and say we want it, you know how an apple has more detail and may, you can add the detail around there. I wouldn't kind of outline, but then we want, what if you wanted to add, what if there's a little yellow in the apple? You can add that in with the pencil. It has a nice feel. It's a whole different thing. And if you wanted to add pattern, which, you know, obviously pencils add pattern, you can easily do that. Okay, so that's another tool to add. Just to recap for a minute. So it's on wet paper, on dry paper, just with the pencil, drawing, adding water, and here actually painting something and adding the pencil after. Okay, so that's something you might consider and add to your bag of tricks.
Karen, excuse
Yes.
me.
Sure.
My tools and the pots, I did almost entirely with the watercolor pencil.
Oh, really? Oh, very, very, very nice. Do you have that handy?
I do. I can hold it up.
Oh, that'd be good.
I put a little bit of watercolor paint on top.
Okay, so that you started out with pencil and added paint to it.
Yeah, I started with regular pencil, graphite pencil, and I realized I was drawing too much.
Yes.
And then I was like, oh, shoot, I have a lot of erasing to do, or I have to do something else. And then
That's beautiful.
Isn't that wonderful? Every bit about it.
Gorgeous.
It was really different. And like I said, to do like the shadowing or whatever, I just put regular watercolor paint on top. But I loved them. I loved them.
It's absolutely beautiful. It has all the character of the tools and textures. Really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's our added tool, and it's wonderful to take on the road with you and otherwise. Okay, any questions on the watercolor? The pencils, I should say. No. Okay, let's move on. I just want to talk a minute, Michelle, if we could go back to the table. Okay, I just want to talk a minute about, you know, some of the things that I saw on the paintings. I mean, this is my rendition of, you know, the leaves, and because this was the demo, what I might have done differently on this, I'm trying to get a bit. I've had an issue with using an iPad versus a phone, but let's see if we can at least somehow see it. I noticed when I did this, because I demonstrated on these 3 leaves, that if I was actually doing this as a painting from the very beginning and not as a demo, I probably would have kept the same treatment on all 3 leaves. I probably would have done the saran on all the leaves, or just the scoring, or just the masking fluid, because then there's a continuity there. As far as the background goes and the negative painting, I thought the ones that I saw online, I'm telling you, that takes a lot of concentration, and the ones I saw were just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. There's areas that we can always improve on. You know, I look at things like what I've done here. I noticed that this big shadow here is probably a little strong, so I might have just watered that down a bit. But when it gets to be fully dry, it's very hard to start doing that. So you just have to say, okay, you know, move on to the next. That's that. Does anyone have any further questions on this painting? Anybody?
I do, Slita. You know, would you have considered using the scrubber? Remember you showed us this?
Yes. You mean on this part of here
Yeah.
that is too dark?
Yes, yes.
You know what? A scrubber on that particular, the way the paint is there, I think would have destroyed the pattern that is underneath. So I just backed off of it and I said, it is what it is. And you know, that happens. So you just have to move on. But mostly everything else I liked about it. I liked that the pattern was, you know, it had movement. It worked. It worked. Probably, you know, 75% it worked. Okay. Let's go to the garden tools. I'm going to talk a little bit about that now. My garden tools, what I decided to do was make a dark background instead of a light background. And for me, it was okay. I think that some of it got a little muddy overall, but it was a little dramatic, and you know, things were okay. The thing I liked most about this is what happened with the lavender up in the pot there, because it was a little bit of the masking fluid. It was a little bit of dropping water on and dropping the lavender shade into it and letting it just spread by itself. That's kind of a cool thing to do. I think I showed you that last time. Okay. Any questions on garden tools?
Karen,
I'm sorry. Go
ahead.
How did you get the white for the flowers to be on top like that? Were they all masked?
Those are masked with that little thin bottle that I use. This one.
Okay.
Where are we? Over here. Yeah.
Karen, where did you get that bottle?
I bought these on Amazon. They're just called precision bottles, and I'll tell you, they send you a bag for practically nothing. So, and then I just refill it myself with masking fluid, and it's great because the other ones get worn out and they get dried up, and this you have a little more control over. Oh, speaking of masking fluid, let me get on to two other ways to use that. The painting that we're going to be working on this week, or I'm going to be demonstrating, is this glass with the berries and the leaves. You all got that, I hope.
Yes.
Everybody. Okay. Now, if you looked at this kind of foreground things that surface that these things are sitting on, you'll see it kind of looks kind of rough, and you know, how would you paint that? And is that a moment for salt? No, probably not. What happens here? How should that be treated? Well, I'm going to just demonstrate a little bit. What I did was I took masking fluid and I used a palette knife. You guys know palette knife from painting days if you were an oil painter, or I mean, I'm sure you've seen these. And what I did was I put down masking fluid here on this surface, and then I took the palette knife and scraped it across. So it made like sort of a surface that mimics the background base to that surface. Now, what I'm going to show you is what happens when I'm going to take off the masking fluid. What do we see next? So some of it comes off easily, some of it is, but where the surface is left, it really has that slaty finish. And this is something that you work with and try and experiment. But I'm going to show you when I get some more of this off. So it's masking fluid with a palette knife scraped across, and I'll tell you, there's no way that you can paint this kind of a surface with a brush. I mean, even if you try dry brush, it just doesn't work the same. Let's see, so you guys can see this. Okay. So you see what's happening there? getting up, and then you can go back in over top of that and paint in the crevices and the detail that's in there. Okay. Now, when I'm doing the demo today, I'm probably not going to be putting that surface on because it would be too long and too much for it to dry. Okay. So, now the other way to use masking fluid is, besides using the little bottle or besides using an applicator, you can actually use a brush with masking fluid. And I would say don't use one of your good brushes, but take a little soapy water before you put it in the masking fluid. Get your brush in the soapy water, get some of the water off of it, then have a little container with masking fluid, dip it in there, and then you can actually paint the masking fluid on. Now, if you had not too much water on the brush and it was more dry brush, you could mimic this background surface. So you're putting masking fluid on with an applicator, you're putting it on, and then you're scraping it off with a palette knife, or you're putting it on with a brush. And then as soon as you're done using your brush, go right quick to the sink and soapy water and clean your brush. And make that your masking fluid brush. Like assign one of your brushes to masking fluid, and it'll always be good for that. Just that. Okay. All right. So that has to do with the foreground on that painting. The background. You see how this is kind of muted in colors and you're not sure what's really back there? Well, what I did there was, and I'm going to do it again, and I want to show you, is this area here. I put down just water, all water here. And then I dropped in the color, and then I lifted some of it where I saw like lighter spots. I lifted it some with a drier brush, not a dry brush, but water that's taken off. And then you lift some of the spots. But what happens is you get this sensation of it being a little abstract. And I think that that's really a cool thing. That's what's going to make that. I think if you try to paint that, section by section, it wouldn't be natural looking. Wouldn't be natural at all. Okay, so I'm going to get right to it. But so far, masking fluid, palette knife, wet surface, dropped on color. So that's how I'm approaching this painting. Okay, now what I did, just because we have not a lot of time together, I should say limited amount of time, I went and looked at the, trying to show you this, it's not that clear. I went in and looked at all the really, really highlighted areas on the glass, on the tips of the leaves, and on the, any surface that I saw, any reflections that I saw. So I put on that masking fluid. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to do this whole water background so you can see what that's about. And then if things are not too wet, I'll do the masking fluid with the palette knife on the bottom. I'll just turn it around. Okay, so let me start out by doing that top piece. And you should note to yourself, when you look at this reference, wow, what colors are in there? I mean, there's a lot of golds, there's some red, there's a little deeper color in these areas. Do you want to put those in? I mean, on the sample that I did, I put them in a little bit, but I didn't go really deep and I didn't go really strong with them because I thought they were a little bit distracting, and I don't think they add to the painting at all. Okay. All right. So let's get right to it here. And you want nice clean water. And I'm going to go around. I'm sorry, this is not that. Let me see. I had a problem with my iPhone. I had to go to the iPad situation, and I don't know if it's that good or not. Doesn't seem to be in great focus, does it? Let me see if I can get it. Okay, I'm sure you'll get me.
It's okay, Karen. We could see it.
It's okay. All right, thank you. All right. Well, on the top, I'm going to put the water.
Karen, can you move it up a little bit?
I can.
It's kind of half up. No, the other way.
This way.
Yep, go that way. There you go.
Okay. All right. So I'm putting the water all around. All righty. Just water, nice clean water. Oh, and what I was about to say was, since you know what colors are in here, you should have your palette set up accordingly. You know, have pick those colors handy for yourself. Okay. Now, I know that there's a lot of gold in there, so I'm going to be dropping the gold in first. Now, you know, you don't want it to be like out of the tube gold, which is what I call it. So I'm going to be, you know, just placing them on there, looking at the reference a little bit, and getting it so that there's a balance to your color. You know, some here, some there. Are they going to be able to connect? What do I mean by connect? Like, does this look like it's flowing down the page? That's probably a good thing, because in a good painting, that's something to spotlight and know for yourself. Even when you're looking at paintings in galleries, it's something to think about. All right, so there's just some gold. Now I'm going to go in there with a little orange, because I see a lot of orange in there. And I'm going to add just a little bit of brown to the orange, just so it's not out of the tube once again. And drop that in. And what's going to happen is, because everything is water, you know, everything's watery, and when it dries, it's going to be just really magical. Very, very nice. And it's always a surprise. You don't, you know, what is it? You never know what you're going to get with a box of chocolates or whatever. Okay. So now we have a little bit of the gold color. We have some orange color. Now I'm going to put in some yellow, some real, I guess lemon yellow it's like not Naples, because Naples is one of those yellows that is more opaque. And you don't want an opaque color. Not that opaque colors are bad. They just, you don't need them. And you know, I'm also going to leave some white. You see there in the reference how there's like some white spots? Well, I'm going to leave those. And then I'm going to go back and actually lift a little bit. So now, depending on your sense of color and what you like, you can make this heavier or lighter. Now, when you look at the reference, it feels a bit heavier. So I'm going to grab just a little bit of a heavier orange. It's called Chinese orange, one of my favorites, absolute favorites. And you can see that if you wanted to add something dark and you wanted it to flow down and integrate all the way across the painting, you can just do that. All the way across. And if it makes like a little starburst, that's okay. If you don't like it, you can soften it with water. But whatever you're adding, just make sure there's some of it everywhere, like that, so that your eye goes across the painting and around, across and around. And I see there's a little spot up here that probably could use a little something. Okay. And you want to relate these. So now most of the real white areas are, I'm going to put some of the darker color in here. Now, if it's a little too strong in any area, just go in there with a brush and, okay. Now, of course, this has to dry, but if there's any areas that you want to lift, wash your brush off, and I'm going to look, I'm seeing like right in here, there's a real light spot. And this could also be done with a scrubber, or let me show you what happens with paper towel. That's also a wonderful thing, you know, and it's probably good if you don't have one with a pattern, but you can see how that lifts off nice and white. And you can, if it's too white in the end, and you want to change it, well, you can just add a tint over
Orange.
top. But these are things to building your background with interest, building your background with some interest. Okay, so I think that's where I'm going to leave it right now. Does anybody have questions about this so far? So you can either lift the color with a brush, you can lift it with a paper towel, and if you wanted to, say some of these edges are a little too, a little fuzzy for you, you can get in there with some water and you can just soften them. I sort of like when things, happen on their own. It's like, it really makes the painting look like a watercolor. Okay, so that's what I would do first. You do your drawing of your glass and your berries and your leaves, and then you put on your masking fluid to give you your highlight areas, because those are things that you can't do after you get your paint on. Now, even though there's some of this color coming into the glass, sometimes I put that in now and sometimes I don't. So you know what? I'm just going to add a little bit, very lightly, just so I'm reminded that it is in here. And because almost all the other colors are going to go light, they're going to go darker over this. There's a little bit of orange over here. Okay. And we all have to be reminded that for masking fluid to really do its job, there has to be some amount of color on there. I see a blurb over here. Okay, I got it. Okay, so now let me show you the since I can get in here, down and around here. I'm going to show you what it. In fact, maybe I'll do one little piece where it's the palette knife, and one piece where I actually painted on, and we'll see the difference. Okay, because it is a demo. Okay, so I'm going to put some here, and this doesn't have to be real. Real fancy or anything. I just have to get it on there. Okay. Now, I always like to get this pin back in there because boy, oh boy, you don't want it to dry up. Okay, palette knife, right on there. It's almost like you're spackling. I mean, I don't do much spackling, but I've seen plenty of people do spackling, so I know what that's about. And then, and you're going around, you're drawing a little bit. So, and some of it can be higher, some of it can be lower. You'll see once you do it with the palette knife, you'll get a sense of how it works. And I would honestly try it on a piece of paper first, so that you get a sense of, wow, here's how I do it. Maybe I should turn it to the side. Maybe I should, Now, what happens is you're going to be painting over this. So it's not critical to what's happening. And masking fluid is not critical at all because you can always rub it off. So that's something. And then wash off your palette knife. Now I'm going to put my brush into soapy water. Just have to find my one brush for this. Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay, and I'm just going to get some soap. I shall return in 1 second. If that's even possible. With this rigging I have here. Hang on, I'm here. Okay, so oh boy. Okay, so here's soapy water, and it doesn't have to be real soapy, just enough to coat the brush. And now we're going to put some masking fluid out. Just in a little puddle. I put some on the end of my palette there. And with the brush, I'm going to just get in there. Now, if it's a little too wet, you can always put it on paper towel, dry it down a little bit. So for this section over here, I'm going to brush it on. And I want it to be kind of what I'll say dry brush or rough brush. So you can see how that works. Now, you know, we're trying a bunch of things here, and you can try these before you actually put them on your painting and see which one you like the best. I think I'll use this all the way across. But that's, those are 3 techniques with the applicator. And here it would be hard to mimic. It would be hard to mimic that surface with just masking fluid. But I'm going to put it on over here. Candy, every once in a while, I keep thinking about you. Oh my God. Very exciting. Okay, now there's an awful lot to let dry here, but I wanted to know if everybody's with me on this. And so here we've started with a palette knife. Here I've mixed it with the brush, and the rest is put on with the applicator. Now I didn't put any, I didn't paint anything in the leaves yet because I was trying to decide, you know, and that's the other thing. Go back and wash your brush real carefully in the soapy water, then in water, and you'll always have this, what do you call it? The masking fluid brush for yourself. Okay. I didn't do anything in the leaves because I said, you know, as an artist, you have to make a lot of decisions along the way. So I've made a decision like what the background's like. I've made a decision as to what the surface that everything is sitting on can either be painted on or done with a palette knife. So, and you don't want to go technique crazy, what I call it. It's, you know, you can't have too many things going on. It's like, you know, why, it's like using all of your tricks in the bag. You don't need to do that. You need to decide what's going to be best for this painting. So if you look at the painting, if you look at the piece of reference, and that's the other thing, a photograph is only a jumping off point. It's where you start. It's what you are influenced by and what you are inspired by. The reason I chose this was because, of course, there's glass in here. So I wanted us to have another go at the whole glass look and reflections. And then because it was fall and it had these beautiful colors and the surface that it's sitting on, it's kind of a challenge. I mean, there are some lights and darks in here, and you don't want to go too crazy with that. That's why I picked the masking fluid palette knife idea. So I thought, well, gee, maybe in the case of the leaves, they should be secondary players because there's an awful lot going on otherwise. So in this case, what I might do is just now, if I can, if I can get in here, I'm sure I can do the leaf down here. I'm going to just stick with, I think, scoring, because of all the techniques, whether the saran is a little more pronounced, a little more dramatic, I would use the saran if I was going to have a quieter background, because that is a little more upfront. I would use the scoring or because that's the subtlest technique. You could not use anything. You can go in there and just paint the leaves as you see them. So there's several things to consider. It's what pleases you and what makes your impression of this piece of reference. Okay. The other thing was, I think what I probably would start with, because I think a change of color will be nice, and something to spotlight might be these berries. Notice in the berries how the top ones are a brighter orange as they get, or brighter red, brighter orange. And then the middle ones are kind of middle tone. And then when you get down to the bottom berries, they're almost burgundy. and the ones that are inside the water are changing in color too. So I think we'll put those on next. Put the berries on next, and maybe things will be drying up here a little bit so I can add some color over that bottom area. Okay. And you know what? There might even be a time here. This might be a time for a watercolor pencil on the leaves. So let me give that a shot as well. Okay. So let's see.
Do you use masking fluid on the stems?
You know what? I did because I didn't want to lose track of them.
Okay.
Because once I put the other paint on, I said, sometimes I do that and then I mask them out. And even if I don't want them to be masked out and I'm going to paint darker on top, then I just take off the masking fluid and paint right over. So it just saves you this step. Okay, so looking at the color of the berries, I'm going to go to my palette and see what I like here. It's you know, they're a nice color, and everybody has a different color palette in their makeup, in their mind, and whatever, it'll come out no matter what I say. It's going to come out because it's a natural instinct for you to go darker or lighter. Like my paintings, I think have a certain richness and style. And I mean richness as in finery. I mean richness as in intensity of color. Okay. So I've mixed
Karen,
up.
can I ask a quick question while you're mixing those?
Yes.
Because I'm finding as I'm using the different colors, my place where I've put my tube in,
yes,
you know, my little cake or whatever, is getting all dirty with other colors. Is that just what happens?
It does happen, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, it's a good thing to wet a piece of paper towel and go there and try to clean that surface a little bit. Just wet the paper towel, blot it, and get it as clean as you can.
Okay, thanks.
And then every once in a while, you have to be diligent and get in there and actually clean it out. Okay, so I don't know what's going to happen. Well, I'll try to do the berries that are not touching the background. But, you know, I have some highlights on there. And these are, I would say these are the medium berries here. The medium berries meaning medium in tone. And then I'm going to go to a darker, just to give you a feeling of what happens to the darker ones down here. And even with the darker ones, leave yourself a tiny bit of white showing through. You can always tone it back after, but give yourself just a little bit of, you know, highlight, motion, just to have a difference. And then on the lighter ones at the top, just go back to your original color. You should have a little testing paper, which I do in this case over here. And I'm hesitant to put this on here because I'm afraid, and that's exactly what happened. It started to bleed into the background. But that's okay. But don't you do that. Okay, and now I'm going inside the glass a little bit. And let there be a little space between the now here, this one's kind of dark on the bottom, and then it changes to that really pretty red on top. Okay, now you see how these are looking like kind of straight across? Well, I think I'm gonna add another one underneath there, just because I don't like that it's so rigid. So I'm gonna, and it'll be like showing through. So now it has this kind of a look and that kind of a look, and then one drops down. And this one up here, of course, bled into there. So that'll help when that's drier. And then there's one out here, which I'm not going to paint a lot because It's just too wet up there. Now you say, oh my goodness, what happens if it does bleed? Well, just go there, rinse your brush, go over your, go over where it did bleed, and you can pick up most of the color. You see that? Okay. All right. So now now I have some sense of, what's going to happen. They're certainly not finished by any means, because you have to get in there and, really make them look like they have a shape, dark to light. I know you guys are learning that in your drawing class, and that never goes away. And no matter what you do in painting, it never goes away. Now I see for some reason on the left side of the glass over here, there's a little bit of this red. And what's good, for what reason? Maybe the berries are reflected in there. Who knows? But it's a nice thing to see a little the reds in here from the berries, and then all of a sudden it's repeated over here. And then you might see a little tiny tinge of that same red in this leaf down here. So I'm going to actually go to that leaf. And what's the interesting part of this painting is that the leaves and the background are very much related. They were all very golden. So I'm going to go to this leaf now. Okay, the leaf that's right on the surface here. And I'm going to leave some of the, you can always paint over a lighter color, but for some reason, you can never, ever get those highlights back. So leave those for yourself for sure. Really concentrate on where the lights are. I see this like hole that I've left here. And the other place that I see really, really light is right down in that corner. So I'm going to really water the paint down and kind of wipe it off and just keep it major light there in this corner. And the other thing you can do is after you get some color on there, you can just go back with water, put it where your white area is. And what happens is that the color will bleed into there very naturally. So down here, it seems like there's more intense color here where it goes over the glass. Now, if I wanted to, I could certainly go and take some of orange if I wanted to let the color like bleed in here a little bit. I just drop it in here. But I don't want to do too much of that because it seems like it's too reminiscent of the background. But I will add some in here because I'm going to paint darker over that eventually. I think the background is dark enough so that I can go over this area. I should say the foreground. Okay, so that's the beginning of the leaf. You can see there's lights and darks, and things are going to be filled in and left. And if you see anything that you don't like highlight wise, take care of it right now and lighten it up for yourself or darken it for yourself. But that's the beginning of the painting of the leaf. And I'll tell you, sometimes I have a tendency to things get heavy-handed, which I don't like. So with a painting like this, I'm trying to keep things really lighthearted, light-handed. Now, this background, it has like a pinky, the background that everything is sitting on. It has kind of a pinky tan look about it. It's an unusual color. So let's see what happens here. I'm going to actually mix it up. Let me get rid of some of this yellow. Okay. So I'm going to show you what's going to happen. I have some brown.
There's no white. Ooh.
I have a little brown, a little darker brown here.
No, not good.
And you don't want your color to bleed. So I'm going to compare this to the first thing I did and see if I like it or not like it. Okay, Also notice in the reference that it's very light on top and then it has all these dark, it has actually a really beautiful shadow of the big leaf onto the background. So that's going to be kind of cool looking. Okay, now you need enough to go all the way across. So let's mix up enough to go all the way across. And but that way I can show you what happens to the brushed on as opposed to the palette knife. Okay, that might do it. Let's see.
Not cool. No. You might just have to do it over again.
Are you speaking to me?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm listening, so it's all right.
I'm talking to myself.
Oh, there's a lot of that going around. That's okay. And you don't want to get it too dirty. So testing to see. And, the other thing is, how does it work with the rest of the painting? Is it blending? Is it good enough? It might need a little more red in here. Okay. But that's finding your way. Okay. All right. Now, here we go. Okay. Can you see that? How it's beating up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hope you can. And now, since it's really lighter in here, I'm going to just lighten it up with a little water. Okay, so now we went from this palette knife background. I'm going to hold this up so you guys can really see it once I get across to the other side. Also, be aware inside the glass, you see the line where it's going. You want to put that in there as well. Okay? In fact, you can put it all in there like that. So this is inside the glass. That's with glass. The thing that makes glass really work is what you see through it. You kind of have to keep reminding yourself of that. Now on this side where it was just brushed on, it's very subtle and not really great.
Could you move your paper up a little bit, Karen, so we
Of
can
course,
see that
yes.
corner? Yeah, thanks.
Is that better? So you
Yeah.
can see where it's going from, more rustic feel to something that is just, not that interesting. Although, hey, maybe with all this going on up here, you may not want all this crazy, pattern down here. Although, in the end, you can always go back and you can, pull out some lights so there won't be as much contrast. You can do that. But those are the decisions as a painter, looking at what you're working with. Gee, is that what I want? There's a little bit in here and a little bit over here.
Could you add some of those lines with watercolor pencil?
Oh, definitely. Yes. Oh, you mean in the leaves or down here?
On the table.
On the table, sure. Let me see what happens with that. Is that Doris?
Yes.
Hi, Doris.
Hi.
Nice to hear your voice. Let me get out an appropriate color and I'll give it a shot. In fact, the way pencils make a mark, that might be a really good thought. I don't know if this is an appropriate color, but I will certainly give it a shot. Everybody see? Actually, it has a nice texture. You know where that might be good is when there wasn't any texture
Yeah,
in
that's what I
here.
thought.
And then you can always go back in with a brush on top and give it another look. And if you look over here along the edge, there's some in here and down in here. Okay, so now what I would do is probably not leave that pencil like that. Let me go back and, let's give it a little water on top. That's another way to demonstrate that surface. Thank you, Doris. And then you can get back in there when it's dry too and give it some real painterly feel to it. But like I said, there's got to be a star and there's got to be a supporting player in every painting. So that's what you want to happen. Where do you want your eye to go? How do you want it to work across the page? And so forth. Okay, now I'm going to try to just lift this to the camera a bit so that you can get a feel for. Now, of course, when this masking fluid comes off over here, you're gonna have that kind of a rough surface like I showed you over here. So it just depends on what you like. And what if you don't really like that? Well, you can go back in, and after the masking fluid is off, you can paint right over it. Paint right over the surface. Okay. Any questions on this technique?
The soapy masking fluid, or the one that you did with the brush?
Yeah, soapy. Yeah, that's to protect your brush. You first dip it in soapy water, then you dip it in masking fluid. Okay, and then you paint with it, of course, and then the cleanup is back into the soapy water.
Yes, but I'm asking the area that you did that. So when you're going to take that off, what are you going to actually get there?
Well, you're going to get some of the masking fluid that's going to be more like brushed on. You'll get a softer version of what's over here.
Right now, the way it looks, it just looks like paint. I can see the masking fluid, the part with the palette knife area.
Right.
But I'm not seeing much masking fluid on the painted part, and I'm wondering.
It's
I know
there.
you can't take it off yet. Okay.
Here's the other thing. Sandy, right?
Yes.
Sandy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Here's the other thing. If it's not pronounced enough for you, after you rub all this off, you can go back in with more masking on top of that. After everything's dry and you want to get a little more to it, you can go back in there, put more masking fluid on, and then go with a little darker color on top.
Okay.
Okay. And that's kind of how I would approach this. Now, what happens to the glass, you say? I'm going to put
the glass, and I'm wondering about the texture of the glass. How are you going to get those X's?
The X's? Oh,
yeah.
Well, you know what? Those X's are kind of drawn in with the masking fluid. So they're going to come up white. And then the darks that are in here, we're going to put on all the paint first. And then those darks are going to emphasize, oh, I should move this closer. You see these darks here? All these dark colors? All that paint is going to be put on before the masking fluid comes off. So that's how you're going to get the pattern in the glass. Okay, it's it's trial and error. You can try a couple of times. Things don't always happen the first time, that's for sure. Now let me just put some of this gold in here. I see that there's some up in here. And then I see that there's kind of this. That's what you have to keep looking very carefully at what's there, what's not there. How dark things are. Like there's a dark piece of the rim back here. It's probably even darker than I have it right now. Then you go and you might add a little more to the brush, and you're going to get some other tint in here. But it's a process of layering and finding, finding the way with each part of every part of this. Now this is the leaf comes in here. So
Karen,
yes,
it's Cheryl.
Yeah.
I would be really interested in seeing how you go about putting in the base of the glass where you have you're using a lot of blue and
Yeah.
highlights in it in the areas are gray to blue to whatever. And
Right. I know that's going to be kind of cool. I'll try to show some of the blue right now. I'm just mixing up something. I'm going to get it so it's cleaner blue. That's the problem here. All these colors on here. Okay. So down here where we see the blue in here, there's kind of a blue band above, and then there's this glass is octagonal. Is that or hexagon or, and then you're going to be putting blue in here. And then
faceted.
Yeah, faceted. Thank you. And then it's going to get darker. It's going to get darker over here. See, some of these should be drier before you actually put on the dark shades. The real magic is going to, in this particular piece of glass, is going to come after the masking fluid comes off. Because that's when you're going to be able to see the sparkle to what's happening here. So, see, now everything is kind of too wet. It's really too wet. But I would mix up, a couple of different blues. This one, the one above it here now has bled into it. But let me see if I can pull that out a little bit. See, it should go from, to the darker edge. And then there's kind of a stripy thing over here, but I have masking fluid there, so that's going to create that. Okay. And then if you see up here in this particular area, it's a darker color. Whoops. It's darker than the background. And it goes right to the surface that we just painted. So it's a puzzle, and then there's going to be even darker. And the thing is, somebody once said to me, darks can be your friend. And that's true. You just have to know when to use them. Because they can be dramatic. And with my painting style, it's like things are dropped on, and sometimes where they land, they land. And I like that. But, if you're a more exacting person, you're going to want to get in there and, really build on that. So here's the last thing I want to say. I'd like you to work on this painting this week, whether it's, a portion of it, whether you just get into the techniques of some of the areas or not. Just get as far as you can with building this one. And the last painting we're going to do together is going to be a your choice painting. I have 2 images, and I'd like to show them to you, and then I'm going to actually post them. I'm going to send them to you so you have them to work from. The first one is a really wonderful array of sunflowers, and there's a metal container, and there's a glass, and there's kind of a patterned wall behind it, a table, and I think those are plums in the dish. So that's one. You get choice of one. And the other one is kind of, and this has nothing to do with glass or fabric or anything. This is just because it's a beautiful image. It's, the countryside, some foliage, some, water coming down, a little water mill in the background, and some stone. And there's lots of different textures and surfaces to deal with. Okay, so you get to pick on because this painting we'll be doing for the last 2 sessions. We're going to finish up on this one that I showed you today, And then we're going to pick one of those or both of those, depending on the time that you have to paint. Okay. In closing, does anyone have questions on anything we've talked about? No? Oh dear. That's either really good or really bad.
No, I don't have any questions, but your fingernails are really cool.
Oh, thank you. Yes, they're, what do you call that? Festive Halloween. Thank you. Try to keep it going somehow, you know? Try to keep a little light feeling. Now, does anybody have any questions on the palette knife, the brush down surface, the dropping of color, the painting, looking through the glass at the colors that you see coming through? Just, you know, it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle. Just look at it and don't look at painting the whole thing at once. Try to concentrate on your background area. Try to concentrate on your foreground. Get into, or you could start with your glass and your leaves, depending on how you feel about it. Okay? And don't get crazy with a million techniques. Try to make it what works for this for this image. Okay? I'm delighted with the work. I really am. I'm so proud. There are a few people that I have, because the mill does such wonderful things, I really need to call out. Let's see. I think it's Cheryl, Doris, Kate. Let me think who else is in there. Oh boy, I miss. They have chosen as the holiday gift for the Partners for Health a microfiber cloth, and some of the paintings of you gals are being reproduced on that cloth, and I couldn't be prouder. I mean, it was not that I picked the images. I gave them a whole bunch of images that we've done together, and they picked, and it's just wonderful. And I'm going to be showing them the minute I get them. They come in a little, let's see if I have it here. Oh, you know what I might have too? I might have, there's a card that goes out with it.
Are they going to be for sale, Karen?
I don't know if they're going to be for sale. I think they might be giving some to the mill, but I'm not sure. Let's see.
Oh.
Here we go. Whoops. Here are the images. You can see, you know. Oh, the names are right here. Cheryl, Kate, Beth. Oh no, sorry. Wrong one. I gave them so many different ones. Oh, here's the finish. Cheryl, Kate, Doris, Lita, Sandy. So that's what the cloth looks like. And oh, here's how it comes packaged. And it's free, you know, it's a little cloth that'll be good for glasses, your front of your phone screen.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
And it's
nice.
great because it fits in your purse and it opens up like, I might as well show you. It's on the subject. This is how it comes out.
Nice.
And
Very
I'm so delighted that, you know,
Beautiful.
they came to us. Oh boy, where is that happening?
Very nice.
So bravo to everybody. And that's part of, you know, part of being part of this group. We never know where our stuff is going to end up. Okay.
I have one question about the painting.
Yes.
Do you see the blue on the bottom with the little rectangle?
Yes. Right here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
In the painting itself, there's like an oval in the middle that goes from the front of the glass to the back of the glass.
Yes.
Can you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Let me, right
above
here.
The dark, right there. Where is that oval? Where would it go on your painting?
Where would it go?
I mean, would you paint over the pink?
I think it would. I think it would. Because
and then the black in the back, the part right in the back of the oval isn't in yet.
No, it isn't in yet. No,
Okay.
I can't. Everything's too wet. I couldn't do it. But I'll tell you what, maybe as I'm going, like this could be stage 1, and then maybe for stage 2, I'll put in more and take a picture and send it, and then I'll take a picture and send it again
That would help. That'd be great.
as I'm progressing. And if everything wasn't wet, I would just keep painting, but it wouldn't do us any good because all the colors would meld together.
Karen,
Yes.
it's great when you send us those different stages.
Oh,
And-
good.
And it's also great how you respond to us when we're having questions or whatever. I know you don't get a lot financially out of this, but boy, the support you give all week is amazing.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. You know what it is? It's not about the money or finance. It's more like it's about what you love. It's
Well,
what you
and it
love to do.
shows. We feel the love.
Okay, good. When somebody says something, I said it's my joy. And that is the honest to goodness truth. It is.
I second what she said.
I third it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, and thank you. Merci. Well, we have, and then I think at the end, the mill themselves, Michelle and Katie, they will, put them on their site, which is really nice because they take the paintings and put them there like a little gallery. So, it lets the world know what we're doing. Okay.
Right.
And I hope that some of you, take these images and use them for cards and gifts. And because I'm telling you, when somebody receives something that's hand done by you, signed by you, it's a real, a treasure forever. No question about it.
Well, thank you. It'd be
Nope.
great.
Okay,
Thank you,
ladies
Karen.
and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Hi, John. I hope you do something about those horns.
They're off already.
Okay. Okay. In closing, I will see you next week. And to recap, Michelle, can we go to the big screen?
I think Michelle left.
Oh, she did leave. Oh, yeah. I guess it's time. Well, I'm signing off now too. And have a good week. And let me see what you're doing.
Thank you.